the whole idea was like the Squid Game of NFTs is what we were kind of dubbed or known as. And so what we did was we did a mint. We took 60% of the mint revenue and then put it towards this crazy prize pool and ended up giving away like millions of dollars worth of NFTs. And the way that it worked is that you had basically one game per day. Each game's open for 24 hours. Each game only takes 5 minutes to play.
Let's get into my vibes with that intro music.
Yeah, I was grooving today.
Well, hello. It is Friday again. How does they just sneak up? They sneak up
every day is Friday. Every day is Friday. It feels like,
and it's a Friday in March, which also feels progressive towards summer, towards better days.
We're moving forward.
How you doing, Josh? You're looking more
good. More tan. Beard's getting longer. I didn't bring a razor, so this is, we're running with this. But only
There's no razors in Chile. Chile is actually a huge market opportunity in Chile for.
It's true. Razor blackout. Yeah. But only one more week here and back into the cold. Yeah, so
wild. Wild. Yeah. How we doing, Peace?
Quite good. Just had a chicken leg. What more can you ask for?
Your Muppet eating chicken legs, I think, is very on brand.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, the next animation let's get a chicken leg.
Yeah.
He looks like he just devours them.
Totally, just cigars and chicken legs. Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to think about like the millions of things that have gone on this week already, but there's a lot that just aren't super crypto related, or at least one. Today's a really big day, Josh. I don't know if you know how big a day it is. For those who haven't been following along, I've been very excited to throw myself into fandom over the last year and a bit after being kind of I'm like, fandom's kind of lame. I'm like, no, fandom, awesome. So it is the NHL trade deadline today, Josh.
That used to be a big deal. That used to be a big deal to me.
We got drama. We got some deals. We got some unrestricted free agents. We got the talking heads talking. It's fun to see crypto Twitter dynamics exist on Twitter in a whole other different category, hockey. You think crypto's trash? It's not that. It's maybe just the internet. We also have a great show today. We're going to be diving into with Rek Tech, which is a bit of a game theme we have, because I think this week Crypto the Game also went on sale or opened up applications, and it looks like half the timeline is into it. I just can't. It's too much for me. Too much for me.
Too.
Very excited to watch on the side. But I think there's this sort of like, we've seen this experiential dynamic start to emerge with Crypto the Game. And I think we have a couple teams in our portfolio that are doing some interesting things. And then, of course, Rek Tech is making a stink on the internet this week and last. And so excited to dive into that. We're also going to catch up with Thomas from Lore. Lore just launched, a huge revamp of their product. And they give you the tools to run an on-chain fund, which it's going to be interesting because I think it might give us some time to talk a little bit about DAOs.fun as well, and maybe the difference there, and maybe the maturing of the tech, which is kind of interesting. And of course, there's no shortage of other interesting shit that happened on the internet this week that I'm sure we'll get into some of them. We're probably not going to get into much today, though, given the fact that we have interesting people to talk to. We should probably jump in, yeah?
Let's do it. Let's get Caesar. It's funny when Caesar. Are we going with Caesar?
Cesar?
I
can't hear you, boss.
Are you muted?
Hey guys, how you doing? Yeah, Krish.
There we go.
Whatever you prefer.
Yeah, that's what I was like. This is the thing. We get a name here, introductions over here, different name here. That's great. Love it.
Yeah, it's just like kind of it was like it kind of it was like a nickname given to me by the community back in the internet game days. And so it's so even for me, every now and then I'll like jump on a call and someone will be like, "Oh, hey Caesar." I'm like, who's he talking to? Because like, I'm like, I'm fully doxed.
Okay, so you're actually like ruler of Rek Tech.
Rek Tech, yeah, no, it's just it's
benevolent dictator of Rek Tech.
That's what we tried. That's what we go for.
All right, man. Well, give us the high level. What the hell are you up to?
Yeah, no. So yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me. And again, that intro song, the intro track to this stream is so sick. Like I was just like, this is amazing. Yeah, it was so awesome. But yeah, no. My name's Krish. I'm one of the founders of Rek Tech, and we are Web3's craziest game show. And even I heard you saying like, oh yeah, like the idea of like actually kind of getting involved in a game show or one of these kind of more interactive experiences is something that's not for everyone, and that's actually something that I can completely respect. But I think that's also, it really does lend itself to kind of how we built Rek Tech, relative to kind of even previous experiences or even other things that are out there. So the short of it is that Rek Tech really kind of came out of our kind of first venture in Web3, where back during the kind of 21, 22, NFT focused bull cycle, we were a company called Internet Game. And so you can think of it as like the kind of OG kind of Web3 game show. And it was really kind of, the whole idea was like the Squid Game of NFTs is what we were kind of dubbed or known as. And so what we did was we did a mint. We took 60% of the mint revenue and then put it towards this crazy prize pool and ended up giving away like millions of dollars worth of NFTs. And the way that it worked is that you had basically one game per day. Each game's open for 24 hours. Each game only takes 5 minutes to play, right? So that was like this kind of structure that we built. And if you made it through day one, there was eliminations every single day. You play in day 2 and then day 3 and day 4, and there was a leaderboard. And it was this really, really awesome kind of crazy experience. We always joke that we lost years of our life running it because we were just super, super, underfinanced, undermanned. Like it was just a very, very hard time. But a lot of people described it as one of the most fun things that they'd ever done in Web3. And so, for us, obviously, we did 2 more seasons of Internet Game, both of them during the bear market. Season 2, we did in partnership with G Money, which was really cool. And then season 3, we partnered with Lionsgate. Right. They actually we're an 8-month-old company, and like Lionsgate's in my DMs and they're like, hey, we really love this whole like kind of internet game thing. We, want to bring, our brand into Web3. And so we basically did this thing called Internet Game Saw, where we basically built like this entire like game show type experience using Saw IP. And that was also a really fun experience. And then from there, raised a bunch of money. We're backed by Dragonfly, Delphi Digital, Powerfly, Collab Currency, and a number of really great angels. But for us, I think the story with Rek Tech is really just like, there was a lot of things that we got right with Internet Game, frankly, just luckily. But there was a lot of things that we got wrong. We didn't really have a strong sense of community because our NFT was this kind of fungible asset, or it looked like a fungible asset. Simultaneously, we launched in February of 22 and the market died in May of 22. So there wasn't that much time to be cool. And then simultaneously, in terms of the ability to kind of, I'll say this, when people would meet me and if they had heard of Internet Game, they'd be like, oh, that was so cool. That thing that you did that one time. They refer to us as like an event, this thing that took place at this like a period in time, as opposed to something that was like, D gods or something like that, which is like, you don't look at a D gods as a when or something like that. But I don't know, I use them as an example. But all this to say, we basically spent the last 2 years basically taking the good, getting rid of the bad, and then also considering the evolutions of the market. And that's really kind of what we have here with Rek Tech today.
Got it. Very cool. So maybe before we get into the specifics of what Rek Tech are, I'm interested in. So you've been building in this space for 3 years. There's clearly some kind of core obsession or insight or like vision for the future that you're working towards. So I'm curious what that is or how you articulate that.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. So I think generally speaking, my co-founder Jordan and I, we've known each other for like 15 years. Shit. And so, we both have had really kind of enjoyed similar things, but have very different skill sets. He's a lot more, frankly, just smarter than I am, like genius technical guy. And one thing that we were talking about, or we were really interested in, was like really the future of consumer social and the convergence of more kind of interactive forms of media and how these things would kind of combine and cross, right? So you even think about things like streaming, things like Clubhouse Spaces, the kind of movement of things like Roblox, Minecraft, et cetera, with younger generations. I think that what we saw was that the opportunity for people to kind of have fun in a more interactive way, regardless of where they are in the world, was I think a trend that we were seeing. And so that was something that we were just like exploring, frankly, without any kind of concept at all. And 2 really interesting things happened. And this is kind of where we kind of how we landed on Internet Game. One was that the thesis that I kind of have around kind of like fiction and media is that when something goes like incredibly viral, specifically a type of fiction, my theory is that there is this kind of vicarious desire like amongst the population to want to participate in it. And usually the example I use is like Harry Potter, right? Like, you guys can remember being 12, 13, 14, 15 years old and reading these books, and you're just kind of secretly wishing for that like Hogwarts letter to kind of show up in your mailbox one day. And so like I think that was just very much like this thing that I had noticed when I was younger. And so obviously there was this tiny little show that came out of South Korea on Netflix that all of a sudden took the world by storm. And no prize for guessing, I'm talking about Squid Game. And so I think what I saw there and what we kind of were talking about was like, yeah, I would totally play on this life or death game show for the chance to win millions of dollars. And so that was like the impetus of the original concept. And frankly, I think just the experience in itself, and I think the accessibility of it, the ability to win life-changing prizes, all that kind of stuff, it like really lends itself to Web3. Like Web3 is small, but it's a very global space. So it's really kind of how do you build for that?
Got it. Awesome. Okay, let's get into what Rek Tech specifically is, and I guess how it's kind of unique or different from internet game. Because I think I've seen. I think Rek Tech you've been around for a bit, right? You've done some drops or some maybe like IRL events, but it seems like you're building up towards season 1, which seems kind of like the big launch of the product. So tell us more about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the interesting thing about Rek Tech, as opposed to kind of like internet game, right? Like Rek Tech or even internet game, as it on the face of it, it's just like Web3 game show. Come in, play a game once a day. Each game only takes 20. Each game is open for 24 hours. Play whenever you want. Doesn't matter if you're in, Tokyo, New Zealand, New York, or Los Angeles. You can find time to play. The games are super simple. They're easy to learn but hard to master. And we leave a lot of kind of room for kind of like community creation, memes, the kind of strategies, the psyops, and all the kind of stuff that makes the game really, really fun. But beyond that, I think what we really look at Rek Tech as is this like kind of tokenized like brand, like entertainment brand, interactive entertainment brand. And so like, you've noticed you kind of commented on the drops, and like I think a lot of people saw this thing that we did with Ansem earlier this week where he was like quitting crypto Twitter, and then it turned into an ad, right? Like it's these types of things that we're really excited about, because I think that when you think about like Web3, and at least our thesis around Web3 is that like if you can build a really high quality brand that has really high quality product that is fun, and then can generate revenue, I think that those are going to be like the big winners of this particular cycle. And I think that if you can kind of like juxtapose or compound a high quality central product with these more ephemeral experiences, those are kind of the things that people I think in Web3 really want, just because the ADD level is just so high. So you can have something that's like, I guess you see it all the time. It's like something's really cool for like a month, right? And not to name names or anything like that, but like, Fantasy Top had its moment. Friendtech had its moment. Tribe.fun will have its moment. Like everything will have its kind of moment before people kind of move on to this next thing. And so, for us, what we really see with Rek Tech is like, how can we build a brand that is around the super fun, simple kind of game show like experience? Kind of like a degen Wordle is probably the best way to think about it. But you are competing for a Rolex or a Pudgy Penguin or whatever may have you. But then at the same time, how can we just kind of continually break the internet in just interesting ways, specifically in a tokenized or Web3 manner?
Who are your users, members, players? Like how would you describe them?
Yeah, I love that question. So, I think one of the biggest things that I'm always really careful of, and I always say all the time, is like, we're not Web3 gaming, we're social, right? We're culture. And so I think for us, like that was something that we were really, careful about, even when we did internet game, like, because I think that Web3 gaming is obviously in a really interesting kind of position where, you have these games that are like, even when people think about gaming, they think about the dude who's like, with a headset on playing Fortnite and all that kind of stuff. And then Web3 gaming is just like a version of that. And that's, deeply on the Ronin network, and they're like MOBAs and, first person shooters and all that kind of stuff. Like, I always say all the time that like the word gaming is so broad, right? Where, people, when they think of gaming, like they don't think of Wordle as a game. They don't think of Words with Friends as a game. They don't think of Settlers of Catan or Monopoly Go as a game. Those are all games, right? So I think that like generally speaking, we like are very careful to exist on that side of the spectrum. And then, taking it one step further, I think what we try to do is we go after like kind of, I wouldn't say like pure play retail, like, pure play kind of mass market, folks that have aspirations. I think so much of Web3, one of the biggest drivers for a lot of folks in the space. Like, yes, there's people who are in it for the tech, but a lot of people have these aspirations that are largely financial. And to a certain extent, they're limited by the amount of starting resources that they have. I think that's just the reality of the space. And you kind of saw it with meme coins versus something like NFTs, right? NFTs were so much more aspirational than meme coins were, largely just because you were just priced out of it. And like, I couldn't afford a Bored Ape. Like, it's like, that's just the reality of the space. I would love to win one. And all of a sudden we were giving people the opportunity to do that, right? I can't afford a Rolex, but I can spend a small amount of money. And now I actually have a greater than zero chance to have a Rolex. So I think that aspirational aspect is a big component of Web3. And I think that's the thing that we really kind of push on when it comes to who is our base.
Awesome. So where should we send people? Is there a game that's about to go? I feel like you're probably in promo mode, so that means you got something interesting happening.
Yeah, I wanted to set something up for this, but I wasn't sure how much time we would have together. I was going to set up because something that we've done is we've set up a bunch of different. Like, I've done a number of streams. I did a stream with Zeneca and Whale where we did like a little mini tournament. But I when I saw the schedule, I didn't know if I was like the first.
We tight, baby. We tight.
Yeah. So, all this to say, basically, if people want to check it out, like, there are, you can go to the Rek Tech website. The mint is live. It's actually live for 4 more hours, which is kind of cool. I'm happy to be on the other side of this, because I'll tell you this, like, I've never timed a mint so interestingly with the market. It's just like, it was like the fear and greed index during our entire mint averaged a 20. So for me, it's been an interesting time.
Yeah, some in between the Trump coin launch and the Bitcoin reserve, you decide to launch your thing. Love it.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, great.
Cool.
Great
okay,
time.
so people can go to Rek Tech. I think we have He's got the website up right now, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so to join, you mint a Dream Pass and then get to flex your Rolex out with your friends. Shortly thereafter.
For sure. So basically, just to give it a sense of how Rek Tech works, you can mint a Dream Pass, you can mint 5 Dream Passes, you can mint 100 Dream Passes. Each Dream Pass effectively acts as a player. And that's something that's pretty neat that we did. This is like what we refer to as like practical applications of NFT technology, where you could literally be playing in season 1 next week, which starts on Monday, which we call Anthem's game. And you could be in second place and be like, let me see what I can get for this. And you could literally sell it to someone else. So that was something that we, again, did back in 2022. We set the hack OpenSea to do it. Actually, it was pretty cool. But anyway, my point is that, you mint a Dream Pass, and that's basically, think of it as a Genesis Pass. It's access to the entire Rek Tech ecosystem, access to every single season that we do. We do a lot of even partner tournaments. Like, we could run a Seed Club Rek Tech tournament if we wanted to. And like, I'm not joking, with a couple clicks of a button, I could have that set up for you and we could just be playing.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe it, brother.
Yeah.
Okay, and, so a Dream Pass is the path to play. It's mintable right now.
Mm-hmm. It's meant to be inexpensive, as inexpensive as possible. I see that, people are minting like 2 or 3 on average. And then what we do is we just use it to kind of build up the prize pool. And then we basically have a leaderboard where you can play in our seasons, our daily games. We have a game that's live every single day. Some of the gamers are more crypto native. Like, for example, we had a game the other day, which was who'd you rather copy trade, Ansem or Toli? And
he can't copy trade Toli because he doesn't.
Well, he doesn't trade, but I guess it's theory.
Yeah, he can't. Doesn't use the chain, baby.
Yeah, but then the thing is that what you have to do is guess the percentage of people that would have picked Ansem over Toli or whatever it is. And so there's games that are a little bit more kind of pop culture, crypto native pop culture kind of stuff, and then games that are a little bit more just like kind of click buttons and pull out your hair. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, love seeing people years deep survive the NFT craziness and come back with a new exciting product. So if you're looking for something fun to do this weekend, or I guess days into the future, Rek Tech, 4 hours left in the mint, and it's only 0.25 SOL, which means
not a lot of money. Yeah, exactly, right?
For a chance to win 1,500 SOL, that's so reasonable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
not to.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing, man. Well, appreciate you jumping on with us today. We're going to hop on to another conversation. Wish you well, man. Good luck.
Thank you so
4
much.
more hours, and then you're on the other side.
Yeah, I can't promise you. I can't promise you a win. I can't promise it'll be one of the most fun things you do. So again, thank you for having me, guys.
That's very good, brother. All right, man.
Peace, man.
Bye, sir.
Great. I was just thinking back to some of the conversations we had around the sort of, I don't know what words we were using to describe this sort of experiential,
like ephemeral products, or
I mean, I think we've seen, Crypto the Game and some others, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 really, I don't know, meaningful shots on net here, I think, as people are trying to, whether it's a chronic combat or it's some more location-based stuff or, gaming, etc. So I don't know. I think I guess my thought was really, seems very inevitable that we're going to have like this experiential and tokens come together in a much bigger way. And I was oh, it's just kind of been slow and taking a while.
I mean, it's another good example of these like compounders that we talk a lot about, right? It's like ephemeral attention spans, shiny objects everywhere. It's hard to compete with like a monolithic experience, but how do you go be a compounder and tap into these kind of like ephemeral hype cycles? And dexes, L1s, trading products, pump.fun are all good examples of that. But potentially so are these like kind of more like purpose-built experiential worlds where you can just kind of drop stuff into, but then kind of compound attention over time and store that value in the brand or token. Or
if you have a large enough brand, definitely, I think that's like this opportunity point. Because I think like we start thinking about sports teams or big cultural moments. Really, if you're trying to create this sort of compounder over many cycles, what you want to be able to do is issue new tokens and trade new tokens. And so that's either creating a new category of assets where that can happen, or it's probably like creating a game or a world, right? So you can imagine my dear Canucks having their own tokens and kind of having, they just demand for those assets and experiences being large enough to really have a meaningful, on-chain business here. So that's interesting.
It was funny. See, I saw that the Ansem video pop up on my timeline, and I didn't watch it. I just assumed he left crypto Twitter, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I think like the next day I saw it on Rek Tech, them repost it, and I was like, oh, did he not actually leave? And then I watched it, and it was whatever, kind of an ad for this, but
I was like,
it was good. It got me.
Did it?
Yeah, it did. I was like, damn, he's gonna log off for real.
I was like, yes.
I like his.
I was like, me too.
Yeah, he's good. He's not one of the bad ones.
All right, let's pop into a couple of topics, and then we're gonna have Thomas from Lore pop up.
Let's do it. Yeah, cool. Let's jump to maybe the Zora one. I think Thomas is probably gonna be here in a few minutes, so we can talk about this one pretty quickly. Yeah, so I think we talked about Zora a bit last week because they launched a new protocol. And I think really what's notable about this is how kind of firmly they're positioning it as a meme coin, or like a community meme coin is what they're calling it, and very explicitly this has nothing to do with our protocol. This isn't governance. It has no economic relationship with it. And I think it's notable because they obviously could have launched a network token pretty easily. Like they have the protocol. They could have given governance.
Josh using A16Z token definition language already here.
So I think it's notable that they didn't do that and chose to launch it explicitly as a meme coin. So I'm curious. I think there are many reasons for them potentially doing that. I think obviously legal ambiguity is one of them. Potentially this is just a short-term strategy and they plan on doing that longer term. Maybe they just want to kick the messy governance stuff down the road. But curious what your thoughts were on this.
Well, I should bring up a couple of the reactions to it, because I think this is indicative of a challenge that we continue to have in crypto, which is like not being able to say the explicit thing that you want to say even today. And so I think Austin had the Web3 ownership economy is proving to be pointless. What's the point of all of this if there's no user ownership or governance? Or this is a quote from the Zora token docs. Quote, Zora is for fun only and does not entitle its holders to any governance rights or claim on equity ownership in Zora's products. I mean, to me, this is just, I look at Zora as being, they're New York based, right in the heart of the United States, have been very conservative with tokens. And I think to see this, like, if you were to say, like, what is the guaranteed path, or like the most likely path to ensure that you are not in legal challenges with launching a token? Memecoin is like the cleanest, smoothest. We had a president launch the thing this way, right? And so My gut, I don't have any inside information on this whatsoever, but this is just me putting myself into a seat there, is that this is going to have all the things that you wanted to have, really, or that we talk about here, but that, coming out and saying that is maybe just a bridge too far at this point. So my gut is that you will see fees, etc., being used to buy and burn this token at some point, and it will be, because I think like launching as a meme coin, running a company, and then doing things that add value to that community and that meme coin, whether that's building things, whether that's mechanisms to buy and burn, whatever, I think is the stance these folks will take. And so, Zora's going a bit out on the ledge here. We haven't seen real, substantial products or projects in crypto launch tokens this way. And so I think it's what I'm watching closely. I think it is a very exciting and probably fruitful path to go down. And I think that, the ownership economy is proving pointless. I get it. Like that's, it feels challenging, but I think for me sitting here, I feel like we are now able, like there's much more of a clear path to the ownership economy than there was before. And in fact, a meme coin is one of those options on the path towards launching and stuff. So,
I mean, this idea of Zora like taking their brand, even if it's just say meme coin, and they're kind of taking their brand or like cultural relevance public with this token, like that's still pretty interesting to me.
I mean, the point is for traders to trade. It's like that just is the market, and that is the product that the market wants. There is not a huge market of investors, frankly. There is not a huge market of people who are demanding governance. I do think there are people who are interested in investment, but I think a large majority of people are more interested in trading. And I think that making memetic proxies for your brand, where there are open and free markets for people to do that on, is net beneficial than just saying, no, we don't care about traders.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the point I'm seeing brought up against Zora is some version of what Austin is saying here, right? Which is that, like, oh, you're actually only giving this to traders. And so I don't think that's true, right? I think like the reason you want to serve traders is, and by building fundamentals or revenue or narrative group, is because, it's going to create more value for the network and for those folks who hold it. So I think it's the wrong thing to think that, oh, this is for traders only, right? I think it's for traders with the purpose of what, right? And I think that's like I don't know if Zora's, ownership economy is a key to sort of their vision, but I do think it is for many. And I think there's like a relationship with traders and investors there. So I don't know, I wanted to push back on some of your stuff there.
No, I think it's important to realize that like a single product can fit into a larger mission and a larger goal.
It should. Maybe has to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we got Thomas. I mean, unless there's anything else you want to say. Actually, the last thing I want to say on Zora here is what I'm most interested in is seeing is how they launch it, right? Because like, what do they have? Raised 50 million at a $600, $700, $800 million valuation. Big investors. How many addresses did we figure was on Zora when we were trying to do all the enjoy data and stuff like that? Like it's north of 1 million. Like it's probably close to 2. A lot of users. 52 billion contracts in various ways across various ecosystems. So how do you go do an airdrop with investor overhang, wanting to initialize the token well, and do it as a meme coin?
It's messy.
So it's umami is what it is. It's
well, you hope it could be, or it could be just salted mess,
Right.
Right. So I mean, my bet is on the former than the latter, but yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's get Thomas up.
What is up, boys?
Incredible. Are you in San Francisco or New York? Give me one of those two.
I'm in New York.
Yeah, let's go. Yes, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's just sunny. Let's go. All right, man. Well, stoked to have you on. You guys have been cooking. I mean, I think disclosure are proud investors in lore and have had a front row seat for the various ways you've kind of been exploring the intrigue that I think you've had at the center of your world for a while. why don't you just give us a real brief intro on what you've been cooking on, and then would love for you just to dive into the new lore, because I looked at it and I'm like, well, so I'm curious how deep you've gone in this new product. But yeah, start at the top. What are you cooking?
Yeah, well, first of all, we've been cooking for years, but like I would say took a step back and re-architected the entire platform for a few things that we're really convicted about a year ago. And so we've actually been quite quiet on what we've been up to. And I think, like the legacy product has still been operational for the last year. It's actually been growing, doing quite a bit of volume still. But what we launched yesterday is like the new lore built on our new core infrastructure and these convictions that I can share with you guys. But okay, so what is the new lore? It's basically a platform for on-chain funds. You can think of it like AngelList, but we are pretty focused on liquid on-chain opportunities. And you can think of the funds that are getting started on lore as more like micro hedge funds than like venture funds. So the AngelList analogy like kind of holds because it is a two-sided platform for fund managers and for passive investors who just want to like invest in things and sit back and relax. But the analogy also kind of falls short because it's not really venture focused.
Okay,
so the core. Okay, go Jess. Yeah.
So core entity is a fund. What's the is this like I am a manager, I'm going to go raise funds, and then I'm going to go do things on your behalf? Is it we are coming together to go make investment decisions? Like how does that work?
Yeah. So we're being really on the nose about what is actually happening in the world of DAOs generally that are still active and investment DAOs, and just calling a spade, right? I think all the DAOs that have kind of stuck around through the past cycles and like have retention, at least from a capital standpoint, are basically funds, right? And there's one guy that is investing has an investment strategy and is raising money from passive investors who and I think with the new administration and also like we're launching on Solana first, you could just be kind of call a spade a spade, so, right? And it's a fun.
Got it. Yeah. So it's a platform for me. I'm a great investor. Phenomenal. I get in so early, have incredible taste. I then go
don't round trip, sell at the top. He's good. He's good.
He's good.
No. Sorry. No. I do want to correct the record for one thing. I am very capable at round tripping things due to my optimism and long-term belief in human beings. Josh, just so you know, thank you. That still stings, but 2 or 3 more. Okay, and so I can imagine this doing all this on chain just has a whole bunch of benefits to it. Transparency, etc. Are there but like maybe what other sort of unlocks or features make lore just like an obvious place to go do something rather than a traditional fund? Or I mean, I guess even we put something like DAOs.fun up on here to a degree, which I guess at the high level is going after the same category, but functionally it sounds like it's fairly different. So I had like a dozen questions in there, whichever one you want to react to.
Yeah. So like kind of how is lore different? What are we doing that's unique, and what problems are we solving?
Give me the magic. Give me some magic here, because I know there's some magic features you built in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a culmination of like learnings from all the different iterations of lore, and when we were building Prism, which was the first like verified on-chain social trading network, and basically, we're trying to solve this problem of like KOLs and stuff, maybe raising money just off of social reputation, random like anons on the internet raising money just because, and launching a token on platforms like DAOs.fund where people are like speculating more on the token than the fund manager. And we're trying to be the trusted place for to discover verified fund managers that have proven on-chain track records. So you could start out as a trader, just like a regular crypto user, import your existing wallets and your socials, and we compile your track record. And I think we want to get to a place where we even maybe give you like an ELO score compared to the other traders on chain, right? And from there, you can on the platform itself, like gather interest from these passive investors that are visiting the platform just to like put their money to work. So that verification and I think trust that we want to create for the rising traders to become managers for the first time, I think that is the core differentiator and is built off all this tech that we built in the Prism.xyz days.
Interesting. Just pulling along stuff you built 4 years ago.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
there's a bit more, but yeah, depends where you want to go.
Well, I mean, we've been deep in managing and doing stuff like this on chain for a while, and you definitely end up with so many edge cases in from like say the VC or even maybe like a liquid fund point of view. That makes it kind of challenging, but I do think that having like a pretty tight focus and that there's a new this is a new type of thing. We've seen it show up in a multitude of different ways. But yeah, bucket this into like, oh, maybe we should just go do the thing we wanted to really go do and run at it and be explicit about it. And I think, I think there is a big difference between, like a DAOs.fund, I think is very much around the token, right? Like you have these token market caps that are 300, 400 times whatever the assets under management are. And it just feels like very tenuous.
Yeah.
Because it's not trying to be a fund, it's trying to be a token launchpad. And so, okay, maybe just on the fund, are there, for participants in these funds, are there, is there liquidity there, or like how do you sort of manage the assets and the rules sort of around those assets?
Yeah. So this is all based off of the work that we built over the past 2 years. In the original lore, when we were, started, it was basically a collector DAO platform. And the collector DAOs are invite-only private funds, basically, right? And there's no token, right? Like how you join is by depositing money into a wallet. How you redeem is by requesting a redemption from the fund manager, and the fund manager still has the authority to, let that person redeem or not. But how most people exit is through a profit distribution, right? So we are tracking all this like fund accounting math based on on-chain deposits from the LPs, let's call it, right? And stakes are also obviously managed through the redemptions. But where the stakes become really powerful is during profit distribution. We know how much everyone owns of this fund. So when you make a mass distribution, the math is correct, and with just one click of a button, the manager can do that. To like answer your question like a little bit more directly, right now, invite only private funds where the fund manager, it's illiquid, right? Like the fund manager has authority to let in people and let out people. And we are exploring basically like a graduation path where these fund managers can start small maybe managing money for some friends, right? Like no one wants to write their friends. Building some trust maybe from some strangers that want to also join. And then like based off performance and longevity so far, and even like, I guess, kind of Web2 stuff, like where they hop on a phone call with me, right? And I figure out that you're a real person, and taking this seriously and not a grifter. And then we allow you to tokenize the fund. So that's coming later, but starting with private only invite funds.
So who's your ideal person, and where should they go? What are you looking for right now?
Yeah, I mean, we've spent a lot of time bootstrapping the fund manager side, actually, almost accidentally, because with the collector DAO platform, there's about 1,500 collector DAOs and investment clubs, and some squad wallets even that were formed during that era. So now we went through them and did kind of an analysis of who would be open to like accepting new members. And we bootstrapped the fund side a little bit that way, but we're still looking for more fund managers to come on and get going, right? On the new lore, on the new infrastructure, on Solana, right? The old fund managers, they'll also get our Solana infrastructure as well, so they can start doing their thing. So that's what we're really looking for, is fund managers to get started. I would say the clever little marketing trick that we're doing is trying to get that lazy member in your group chat that is seeing like some dude make crazy returns in niche crypto things on chain that they don't understand, and trying to convince that lazy member to give get the fund manager on the platform. So we're trying to create a flow for the lazy member to basically create the fund and set up the group chat on behalf of the fund manager, who maybe doesn't want to do this initially, and get the fund going that way. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I was checking out the site and I was like, oh, there's like a bunch of people here. Cool. All right. Well, lore.xyz is the website. Keep an eye on it. Apply, join. I just signed up. I got my Frank fund. So if you see Frank fund out there in the top,
oh, cool.
I have no members and nothing, but I did set it up here on this call with us. So $10 to join, and we're going to turn $100 into $125. So
let's do it.
That's just based on my polymarket track record. Polymarket track record.
Or we round trip, and we all become community holders.
Fuck out of here. We don't need guests coming on and shit for my trading. Amazing, man. Love seeing you just grind it out, and also love seeing you just run at the thing directly. So lore.xyz, go give it a shot. Thomas, thanks for hanging out with us today, man.
For sure. Yeah, apply for an invite code to get your group chat a fund on board. Thank you so much.
Hi, brother. Be well.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Great to see you guys. Bye.
Doing the thing.
Yeah. It is funny how DAOs.fun very much just feels like it's a token, it's a meme coin launchpad just with some more like makeup on it or something.
Well, I mean, it's just like falls into this constant trap of thinking that you have PMF with something because speculators see an opportunity to speculate on it. And the question is, like, is there just an enduring there? And I think the fundamentals of DAOs.fun make it very challenging to run a good fund off of it. Some really good opportunities to launch big tokens, so people will probably continue to do that. But if you look under the hood and think about like where's the money moving, and where can fees be earned, and where's their opportunity? I can see this category being one of them. It's a messy category though, because I think like no matter what, either you're going to be it's just gonna be interesting to see where regulations land.
Right.
And so one path is like, oh, a ton of reporting, which is probably like the best outcome, and the other is just not being in the United States or whatever. But clearly, there's if there's a lot of interesting assets on chain, doing that, the trading, buying, investing on chain is just so much better. So I'll click around. Maybe we'll put some dollars in here and see if we can go turn the C Club Alpha chat into some fund.
We should do that actually.
I also thought it'd be fun just to let's put like 100K up and attract 5 traders that can see who can turn 20K into the most using one of these things. There's a lot you can go do with this. It'd be fun. All right, I want to see if we can get through some of our other topics because
let's do it.
The week went on.
The week went on. Yeah, I think this was one of the more interesting ones because it just kind of was surprising and came very much out of the blue. But Alexis Ohanian announced that he's bidding to acquire TikTok. I think alongside every other rich person in the U.S.
Elon's reply was good.
Elon's reply was great. But I think interestingly, he mentioned his desire to bring it on chain in this announcement post and kind of highlighted users owning their data and creators owning their audiences as core reasons for wanting to do this and building a TikTok for the people. So who knows if they pull this off, but I think
they don't.
They don't, but it's still worth. I think it's still worth talking about or thinking about what like an on-chain, like if it happened and they put TikTok on chain, would that and build this open ecosystem, obviously a TikTok token opportunity, like is that net positive for the business, or are they better off keeping their walled garden?
I mean, to me, there's a hyphen in here that says it all, right? And I think if you go up, I think the tweet is we're gonna bring TikTok on Dash Chain.
Yeah.
And Dylan corrected him correctly, and it's good. But I think it's like, to me, anytime you're sort of going after a large audience or existing platform, or you're a celebrity or whatever, and you're like, oh, crypto could solve it for all the reasons that we're excited about, whether it's unlocking liquidity or it's better business models or ownership or whatever, but they're ignorant of the absolute clusterfuck that exists in trying to go from Web 2 into Web 3 with an established audience. And so I just think it shows a naivete here, frankly, around it. I think if they do bring it on chain, it would be a very limited way. This just, to me, feels like a great media moment for them. I am actually more interested in what they're going to be doing around Dig, right? So Dig, Alexis, Ohanian, and Kevin Rose have come together to relaunch Dig. And my sense is we'll see more of these sort of Web3 things come in through those products. But I still hold my reservations. Kevin didn't navigate the NFT world super well. Hard, I get it, but did not navigate that well. Made a lot of big promises, couldn't follow through on promises, set expectations, etc., and then just pieced right out. So listen, it's hard builders here. I'm not judging that, but it's just all these things together make me think that it's just going to be aimed wrong. It's going to be aimed
right. Do you think there's an opportunity to put TikTok on chain aimed properly, or there's just too much inertia and baggage and an audience that just hates crypto to take a swing at that? Yeah.
You would need an Elon Musk level of control and ownership over a thing,
right,
and insanity and willingness to be hated for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just not where I would start.
I mean, it would destroy the dev experience of that app, right? How could you coordinate all those teams to all of a sudden start wanting to build on chain?
Of the organization, you mean?
Of TikTok, yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
For all their different features, it's you have I mean, I don't know what those teams are like in China and America, whatever, but I would imagine a lot of them have differing opinions that would not be easy to all of a sudden learn a whole new stack.
Oh, but you'd have half your staff quit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so polarizing.
Yeah.
No, what would you do? You put the creator. I mean, you just the simplest thing, and maybe is just to put it on crypto rails, right? So you're using USDC, making your payments and stuff like that. Cool. But I don't know. I just don't get super excited about process improvements that make the investors more money, right? I think
I do think in this hypothetical world where whatever they can pull it off and the audience is fine with it, the economic activity that they could have
Oh,
on
for
TikTok would like blow away their ad revenue. I think
Yeah,
they had like $20 billion in ad revenue on 1 billion monthly active users. Whereas like if you introduce like, I don't know, creator monetization tools with tipping and coining content and, you know, launch a TikTok token and, you know,
I
engagement
mean, they
rewards.
have all that
and
stuff. It's just not on chain, and they don't have a token.
Right.
So yeah, I think if you could navigate it, it would be huge. I think my response to your ifs is if my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bike.
Yeah,
which
no,
is
100%.
phenomenal.
100%.
Phenomenal clip. But I think it's actually because you can sit there and be like, that is such a great idea, which it is in its sort of like isolation. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
But it's all the things that get to there. And I think this is where, again, celebrities fall down all the time. It's like, great, if I have all this attention, if I put a token out there, I'm going to be a gazillionaire. Sure, maybe, possibly for a few minutes, maybe longer. I don't know. But welcome to this other world of baggage and bullshit that you have to go deal with. So I think it's for all these reasons. I think, you know, still to this day, it's going to be, you know, crypto influencers or folks that come out of that. They're going to capture the most value. It's going to be new platforms that are launched. Farcaster is my bet for, you know, we have some teams that are kind of going after that category as well. So like, I just think that crypto native as a starting point makes a ton of sense. And then like, how do you go get Web 2? Well, the most exciting thing would be ZKTLS and creating other opportunities. So I think that's more likely where we go. But I don't know.
I mean, I do think
very, very excited to be proven wrong about this one.
Yeah, I think the more interesting line of thinking is just like, is an open social protocol a bigger opportunity than a closed garden social network?
I would say for an incumbent, no, and for a challenger, maybe.
Yeah. It's like if Farcaster works, is it like really fucking works? Does it surpass TikTok as like a business?
I think there's more net economic value to be done in an open way with crypto rails behind it. I'm not sure how to judge whether there's actually, I mean, these aggregators, social networks, they're the best business ever invented. Right? So like we're talking about, you know, trillions of dollars worth of revenue over the last little while from these types of things. So it's big, you know. I also don't know how you judge, like you put Bitcoin or Ethereem up there and kind of judge the relative value of those things. I just feel like they're in very different worlds.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the bullish case is like TikTok can still run its aggregator business and it has an ecosystem and crypto rails and a token and there's this ecosystem that builds around it. And I think that's, you know, to your point, they're talking around Zora, etc. I think there is this sort of like, you know, for the longest time we could only take our equity public. But now we have our social capital or brand, and maybe one only takes the social capital and brand public, or maybe one does both, or maybe one does, you know, and so that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
They should tokenize the golf league, man. Maybe bring crypto traders, you know, betting on those shots would be far more interesting than the product they're putting out right now.
Live? What golf league? Ohanians. Yeah, true. The
golf league, what's it called? The indoor golf thing. Whatever. Well, Sam, you have the hat.
I do have the hat.
You're a fan.
It's a good hat. It's a good hat.
All right,
I'm a huge fan. Yeah, so next up we have Dwarkesh on fully automated firms, which I think just is a killer post. So we've talked about Cognicos a bit before on this show, which is really the idea that like future organizations will be organized around and optimized for like compute driven cognition instead of, you know, the human productivity that today's organizations are kind of revolving around. But it's still like that definition and kind of perspective still places a lot of importance on human involvement for alignment and strategic direction. But Dwarkesh, who has a wicked podcast, you know, great kind of AI thinker, information sharer, dropped a good post this week talking about fully automated firms and just how crazy the world's going to be when, you know, human level and beyond AIs are running organizations. And basically his meta perspective from the post is that he thinks people are sleeping on the collective advantages that AIs are going to have because they can be like copied, merged, scaled, and evolved in ways humans simply can't. And, you know, really talks about like the big opportunity isn't, you know, humans with AI assistants or even, you know, AIs in the seats of humans. It's being Google with millions of you know, AI software engineers or, you know, this ability to turn capital into compute and compute into like equivalence of your top talent being this like really fundamental transformation. He talks about the PayPal mafia. So we've had these groups of people who have come together and had very complementary skills, and you can now have that as these like AI, teams that are infinitely replicable, running after thousands of different, projects and opportunities simultaneously. He talks about having like a Meta Sundar running Google who can actually micromanage millions of employees instead of just kind of all the like loss, the information and communication loss you experience. So, he kind of just goes on to talk about how, future AI firms will have like massive, almost infinite population sizes if they want to, and can like economically justify it, and perfect knowledge transfer. And those two things are just going to allow them to kind of innovate at unprecedented speed. So we're obviously still a bit away, but things are going to get really crazy when we get here. He's such a bull.
He's such a bull. Yeah, I really like the conversation he had with, the name's escaping me, Cowan.
Tyler Cowan.
Tyler Cowan, because Tyler Cowan came with a lot more of like a wet blanket on AI adoption, and which I think is important to keep some level of balance in what we take from it here. But I think there is so much of the discourse is around agents, but it's really talking about an agent, whether that's personified or that's the thing that can go do it. But yeah, this post made me think about the world of drones, where 10 years ago there was one really expensive drone flying around up in the air doing its thing,
right?
And you go, wow, that's cool, it can go do stuff. But then you go, well, imagine if you had 1,000 of them, and a swarm of 1,000 drones coming at you versus one is just a completely different world. And for me, it's a lot more visceral, I think, if you imagine like your F-15 versus like 1,000,
right?
Worst paint and stuff. And then you go, okay, well, that dynamic could probably be applied to any area of business as well. It's like, what if you just like literally overloaded this with 1,000, 100, 1 million, whatever that is? So interesting reframing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there's this. I don't know if I can talk about it yet. The idea that you can actually. So how do you go from that talent and insight into workflows and actually execution? And we're seeing both in like humanoid robotics and even in agents that training them on find your best worker, train them on that. And so whether that's through screen sharing or that's through video capture or whatever, and then use that as sort of the training for how these agents should go do the thing. So a very simple thing, you can just go do a workflow once, it learns it once. So who's doing it best, you can copy that 1 million times. And so the tools for the training of these things are actually being built now and are being more accessible. And so I think it will literally be as like, if you can do it once, or if somebody has done it once perfectly, you can just boom, and rock and roll.
I mean, he mentions it in this post, like Google has 30,000 middle managers. It's like, you got to think how easily could you train an AI to do the job of like managing a team down and then sharing information up, right? Like very easily. And then
I think what's fun is just the challenge of how do you go from where they are today to a world where you could go make a meaningful dent in that. And I think that's actually why I'm very either it's like the company's like, boom, we're doing this. So maybe bullish, big enterprise, you can actually force those in. But for the vast majority, it's going to look like an ERP or a CRM system implementation for the next little while. And it's just going to be a mess. And then I think at the edges, people who are like, oh, I can go do that 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more. Those are the types of things that are going to bubble up and really take advantage. And then they'll get acquired. And then those people will go waste their lives away in big companies. And then they'll eventually come back to Web3 and build something cool. It's my dream, Josh. It's my dream.
Launch a token. Yeah,
exactly. All right.
Nice.
Give me a
lightning round before we jump off. Yeah.
Do we have one? What do we got?
I got. Oh, maybe I forgot to drop. All right, share something, please.
Fuck.
Oh, token categories. Josh,
one
of these already.
Yeah. We got to.
I used it today. It actually worked. It worked out. It worked well in that case. I actually thought it was It's funny. Most of the time, A16Z writes about tokens. I'm just completely uninterested and disagree with most of their perspectives. But I actually found this pretty useful to just categorize the distinct types of tokens that we're seeing emerge and exist today, and really what kind of the fundamental differences in what they are and where the lines are between company backed tokens and network tokens today, and what you need to go do, or how you need to where you need to decentralize to be not a security versus a security. So I think it's.
What is this first thing on this? Does this token have inherent value?
I know they always.
Yes. Is the token's value primarily derived from a company-controlled system? Okay, maybe that's token value primarily derived if network token. Okay, I mean, I guess that's.
No, it's actually pretty useful.
Cool, nice. We like categories that make it easy
to
talk about things in a little bit more nuanced way.
I think specifically like network tokens and company backed tokens are just kind of a useful distinction.
Yeah, and meme coin. I think even arcade token is the token value highly speculative or reasonably stable arcade token. Right?
Yeah, like the lamest thing is like fly, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, which makes, I mean, sure, it's in a 2-token model, we don't mind arcade tokens.
True.
It's got to have a token that's not an arcade token. Yeah, cool. Categories, network tokens. We like it. I mean, the reason to pay attention to these words coming out of A16Z is that these guys have a seat at the table right now.
Exactly.
So you should assume that most of this media is just the tip of the iceberg of a big lobbying effort that's going in or has been going on. So wouldn't be surprised to see some of these definitions start to show up in legislation that's being written right now. That's what this is about.
The strategic network token reserve is coming.
Nice.
What a shit show. All right. Well, on that positive note of existential dread, let's leave it here. I feel like there was a few things. Oh, I shout out to Winnie and Chipped. Just got included in a Forbes list for their gift guide. Just
pull it up, piece.
Left, right, and center. My God, Sax looks like fucking Voldemort there, man. Forbes just loves Winnie, but if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see.
Oh, it's not. That's a different Forbes article. I see.
Yeah, so she's included in a gift guide for them. So amazing. I mean, we went and saw the pop up in New York, and there was 100 women. It's not just women. 100 people lined up down the street. They started lining up at 6:30 for this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the quote that you said as we're walking by is like, "Have you seen a less crypto-looking lineup?"
Yeah, have you ever seen a crypto line like this before?
And my answer was no.
Well, it was an easy no. No, you have not. You have not.
Yeah. So shout out to Winnie and team kicking some butt. Crypto the Game is live. Good luck to you all crazy people who are going to go do that. Should be entertaining for the rest of us, I expect. Yeah. I mean, Cheryl continues to absolutely kill it with the
newsletter.
SEC pulls out as a headline. Come on.
That's a good one.
So make sure you're subscribed to that, cclub.xyz. All right. Until then, we'll see you on Chain and back here Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. See you then.
Internet Explorers.